What is up, Yesh Gamers? Robert the Bruce here with a requested video talking about what is the best mid-range sight. Let's go ahead and dive into the comparisons to take a look. First up on the list, we have the YeshGaming. It is a 4x zoom sight, and as you can see by these clips, it covers up quite a bit of the screen when you're looking through it. It's a relatively clear sight, but does have some worthless sight marks on it that appear to just be for aesthetics. I guess if you use this sight all the time, you might start to figure out what range they dropped at, but for most of us, it doesn't help at all. In my opinion, this sight is okay. Not amazing, but not the worst. It doesn't take up too much of the screen when your gun is at your hip, and it's got a relatively clear picture when you're looking through it. Spoiler alert! I'm not really a fan of any of the mid-range sights, but someone requested I do this video, so I'll still review all of them and explain which is my favorite, if I had to choose one. In the world of mid-range sights, the YeshGaming is not the worst, but let's move on. Up next, we have the ACOG. This is another 4x zoom sight, but this one features a little red chevron as your aiming reticle instead of the crossbar dot like we saw on the YeshGaming. The ACOG doesn't cover up quite as much of the screen when you're looking through it, but I personally didn't like the sight picture as much as the YeshGaming. It just boils down to which feature is more important to you. Like the YeshGaming, the ACOG doesn't cover up too much of the screen when it's at your hip, so that's a positive. Some people like the chevron reticles, and if this is you, then obviously this will be a solid mid-range sight to consider. I'm not a big fan of chevrons, a gas station, or the reticle, so, like I mentioned, I would choose the YeshGaming over this. I just didn't feel like you could see as much when you were looking through the ACOG. Next on the list, the M145. This is a 3.4x sight, so it doesn't have quite as much zoom as our previous two options. This isn't necessarily good or bad, it just depends on what you're looking for. I'm not a big fan of this sight for several reasons. It covers up way too much of the screen when you're looking through it, but it also doesn't have that great of a sight picture to see through. So you lose peripheral vision, and you still can't see a whole lot while you're looking down it. Kind of the worst of both worlds in my opinion, but your mileage may vary. Again, all of this is my own opinion derived from testing out these sights on various weapons. If you use the M145 all the time and love it, then great. If you're new to mid-range sights though, I say skip it. It just doesn't have any real standout features that you've got to have. Moving right along, we have the PKA, or the PKA, but I'm fairly certain no one calls it that. It's another 3.4x zoom sight, and it features a circle and dot reticle to aim with. While this one also covers up a fairly large portion of the screen when looking through it, I will say I quite liked the actual sight picture it gave. Now with most of these sights covering up a lot of the screen while you're aiming, you have to really make sure you're not getting tunnel vision and just looking down your sight all the time. You'll miss out on all kinds of info happening around you, and that typically means you're dead. Now one of the things I really liked about the PKA is that there wasn't a bunch of worthless writing or marks all over the sight when you were looking through it. I hate when silly stuff is thrown on as if it's going to help you measure your shot distance, but all it really does is take up valuable screen real estate. Since it is a 3.4x sight, it's a little better suited to close quarters engagements than, say, the ACOG, so if you find yourself all up in that action, as the kids are saying these days, well, then I'd say you should try this one out before you look at the 4x sights. The PKA was definitely towards the top of my list, because I like to rush, and sight picture is important to me. Second to last, we have the Prisma. Now first off, I really liked the name of this sight because it sounded like some super weapon that a bad guy in a James Bond film would be trying to use to destroy the world. I can only assume it would harness the power of the sun. Concerning this actual sight though, I actually like this one pretty well. While it still takes up a lot of your screen while looking through it, the cross reticle and I got along quite nicely. Since it's red towards the center, I found it was easier to quickly acquire the targets as compared to sights that have the entire sight lines all black. Personally, I liked the sight picture that it gave with regards to clarity, and it didn't throw me off too much if I ended up zooming in on a bad guy who was relatively close to me. Since it is a 3.4x sight though, if I did want to hit a longer shot, it assisted there as well. Now lastly, we have the PSO1, and I think they meant to name this the POS1, because it is absolute garbage all the way around. I'm intentionally showing only clips of me dying with it because that is what will happen to you if you try and force yourself to use it. It takes up nearly your entire screen. The sight picture through it is blurry and small. It has all that garbage overlay stuff that I hate, so you have to think twice to even know what the reticle is trying to be. This is the only sight that I truly cannot understand anyone using, and if a buddy of mine tells me he likes this sight, we'll tell him he is a liar and a fraud, and he most likely won't get a Christmas card. So, with all that said, which one did I like the best? Well, you were probably able to guess that my top choice was the Prisma. Now remember, I won't actually be using any of these. The zoom ranges they show are ranges I can hit just fine with a normal red dot, and if I'm trying to go really long range, I'm going to take a sniper rifle. But if I was forced to take one, it would be the Prisma, for all the reasons I mentioned before. Now, I'm sure a few won't even make it this far in the video before they get all pissy about their beloved mid-range sight and head to the comments to flame, but if by some miracle you are considering this, but are still watching, let me say again, whatever you are good with is what you should use. If you totally dominate with the ACOG, then keep that bad boy equipped and do some work. This video was more intended for people who are either struggling with these sights and aren't sure why, or who have never really tried them at all and are looking for some info. I do realize that it's all my opinion, but I have tested these quite a bit and tried to lay out only facts in my analysis. If you feel that enemies at mid-range are just too hard for you to hit, I would encourage you to consider working on your accuracy before deciding you need a different sight. I have a 4-part video series on improving accuracy, and I'm quite confident that an accurate player with a Cobra or Hollow sight will be much more effective. With that disclaimer out of the way, do you have a favorite mid-range sight? I honestly want you to tell me, and put it in your comment why you like it. Maybe you've discovered a great map for a certain sight, and when I try it there, I'll love it too. Hit me up below with your thoughts, and as always, thanks for watching. I'm Robert the Bruce, reminding you that winners plan ahead, losers make excuses in the lobby.
If you haven't yet, treat yourself and click that subscribe button. Click the question mark below it to be taken to a totally random video of mine. No guarantees which one you will get. Lastly, if you're on Twitter, follow @YeshGaming because it is my favorite way to communicate with you.